Today I'm going to talk about Associated Student Bodies, one of the most significant and influential furry publications that you may have never even heard of. There's virtually no coverage on it. It's interesting to see back in 2006 over at Wikipedia they were debating its importance before they deleted its page. Of course, WikiFur still has its page for ASB, but Wikipedia didn't feel Associated Student Bodies was worth archiving, despite the good points made by some. In the late 1990s, this series was revolutionary for its time. It would be a literary project that would be furry-themed, but approachable for everyone. The story was one of self-discovery and acceptance as being gay, a sort of coming-of-age set in a college dorm. It would be at times deep and heart-wrenching, yet at others light and playful. Anthropomorphic creators had told deep stories before, but typically with sci-fi as the backdrop. Associated Student Bodies would be set against normal reality, and in doing so, it would be relatable. College life, with all its stressors and challenges, all the things to adjust to, and heaped on top, a journey of self-revelation. Its slice-of-life format was so well received, it went on to be used countless times to this day. One such example is the Todd and Colton books by furry writer Todd Aldrington, which uses the same format across his 6 books. Definitely worth checking those out. Gayness wasn't nearly as approachable a topic as it is now. There was more intolerance and more danger in being different. The AIDS crisis still cast a major shadow, and although the writers chose to omit it from the series, on page 1 they devote 2 paragraphs to the importance of safe sex. This preface in the beginning of the first issue, written by creators Lance Rund and Chris McKinley, sets the tone for the series. What it's like to feel you don't belong, like you have to hide who you really are. This was a familiar reality to many gay people then, as well as furries. Although there's certainly been progress over the past 20 years, sadly it's still this way for many today. We are introduced to Daniel King, an anthro lion, as the story opens. It's his first day at Leland University, and he's been assigned to Hillard Dorms East. As it turns out, Hillard is comprised entirely of gay men. According to the creators, each one representing a recognizable stereotype in the gay community. There are 2 exceptions to the dormitory's demographics. Tina, the RA or resident associate, and Stephen Paris, an anthro collie who is straight but not bothered by living in a house of gay males. His character has a key side plot that's important, but we'll get to that later. Daniel, our protagonist, meets his roommate, Marcus Paxton, a wolf. Marcus informs Daniel that he's gay, along with the entirety of the dorm excepting Stephen. Daniel is okay with this, and then proceeds to meet everyone else. Things go without incident, and he gets on with college life, until a deep conversation with his roommate and some introspection helps Daniel realize that he might be gay himself. Allowing himself to explore these feelings results in Daniel entering a relationship with Marcus. From there, the narrative explores various facets and challenges of gay life. Then comes the day that Daniel has a major blowout with his dad. After discovering his son is gay, Mr. King disowns him. Daniel runs out into the streets where he spends the night, but when the sun rises, he wanders to a church, and after a heart-to-heart with the pastor, realizes that reconciliation may be possible. Here, Christianity is used not as a vehicle of bigotry, but as a force of acceptance and love, even to the gay community. This pastor is ultimately able to get father and son to a place of tolerance, but Daniel's boyfriend, Marcus, hadn't been so lucky. He recounts how his father beat him when he was a child. Eventually exploding with rage, Marcus beat his dad up and left home to join a military academy. He was kicked out, however, for a gay relationship. His commander did see to it that his college tuition was paid, out of respect for the fact Marcus wouldn't betray his lover. Before too long, it's time for graduation, and this means for some they will be going their separate ways. Remember Stephen, the only straight guy living in the dorm. He's the object of Ricky's affections. The flamboyant raccoon has a major crush on the collie. This dynamic allowed the exploration of straight-gay interaction without prejudice. And a final key moment comes the night before graduation when Ricky is crying, believing he will never see Stephen again. This leads them to spend the night together to see where things go. We aren't shown what happened, but it's made clear it was of a romantic nature. The next morning, Stephen says that he doesn't regret their night together. Opening himself up to the experience let him know that he was straight, and not because he'd been too afraid to consider other possibilities. Later that day, Ricky is the one to deliver the graduation speech. Its message is empowering. Never lose who you are. In the end, Daniel's father actually provides Marcus with a scholarship to continue his studies. Not only will this help Marcus have a better future, but it will allow Daniel and Marcus to graduate at the same time later on and to spend more time together. Mr. King makes it clear that he still despises Marcus, but he values his son's happiness over anything. There, the story closes. I don't know where these guys would be in life now, or what they'd think of today's world, but they live on as long as they're remembered in that magical time where love won. For a few years after the last issue, there were a few calendars, special editions, and a yearbook collector's edition of the series, but after that, nothing ever again in the series. The art style isn't the best by today's standards, and maybe to a modern viewer it may even seem cringy, but this series was groundbreaking, and in some respects ahead of its time. Its message is timeless, and no less important now than it was then. Associated student bodies also inspired an early furry musician named Holly to make this song, and I think it's a fitting end for this video.
It's alright, Danny, so you broke your father's heart. God knows he tried to lead you, he tried to play his part. But now he says God hates you, and he doesn't know your name. Well, trust me, Danny, he feels your pain. It's okay, Danny, so you weren't the ladies' man. God knows you tried your hardest to fit in with the plan. But now you say you're different, and you've heard God disapproves. Well, Danny, I can't tell you how he moves, but right or wrong, he's heard your song and he can understand. The truth is nothing you can do will rip you from his hand. You're crying, Danny. You think that life has come apart. God knows inside you're hurting. He hears it from your heart. But cool your fire with a word that comes from God above. Jesus only looks at you with love. So right or wrong, he's heard your song and he can understand. The truth is nothing you can do will rip you from his hand. So right or wrong, he's heard your song and he can understand. The truth is nothing you can do will rip you from his hand. understand. The truth is nothing you can do will rip you from him. So right or wrong, he's heard your song and he can understand. The truth is nothing you can do will rip you